So I'm just doing a consultation on this aquarium at the moment. Now the fish that I have access to look at are looking actually quite beautiful. So we have a Valentina pufferfish and we have a purple tang. And these guys look to be holding their weight relatively well. And they are acting relatively happy and healthy. Now over a period of time, some of the fish do appear to have got skinny. So we have to be very aware of what the fish are supposed to look like and to make sure that our fish look like that. Otherwise, the fish need to be fed either more often or more at once. How you feed is not important. The results you get looking at the fish is important. Now the other thing is that I'm going to really want to keep an eye on this surface agitation. So right now the surface agitation looks quite good, but we don't want to be in a situation where this is turned down and the surface agitation is not good, because we need the surface agitation to ensure that our dissolved oxygen level is sitting favourably, and then that's going to help our redox potential, which is going to help everything. Now because this tank is very tall and it's not so wide, surface agitation is super, super important. Now the other thing I need to check is I need to make sure that oxygen can get into the tank. So what we don't want is, it's okay, yeah, so we've got to make sure that oxygen can get in. So there's a hole there, that's okay, but we've got to make sure we don't have sealed lids. So on the basis that there's a nice big finger hole here, pretty much going to think that's okay. Now the other thing I'm going to point out is the fact that we've been carbon dosing. I'm just going to replace that now. Now when you're carbon dosing, this is a wonderful thing for decreasing nitrate and phosphate. But in the carbon dosing, you are going to drop the dissolved oxygen level of the tank, so you do need to make sure that the surface agitation is very good when using any of these products. And you definitely need to be cleaning the skimmer on a regular basis. Because if you went a couple of weeks without cleaning the skimmer, and you are starting to dose a higher dose of any of these organic carbon products, then you can create a toxic residual. So when you're cleaning the skimmer, in a perfect world, you just take the top off, take it outside, give it a good clean out. Now, if you don't have time to do that, it's almost just as good just to get a brush and clean the inside of this out. So when you're running your skimmer, what you're actually trying to do is make sure that the coloured froth comes out. Now, the way this skimmer is set up at the moment, I'm not actually happy with it, because actually it doesn't really matter, because right now the froth is yellow, is white. But if this froth was to go yellow, I would want the yellow to get out of the skimmer. So what I'm going to do is turn this tap closed, and then I should see this level raise. So turn it one way a bit, turn it one way a bit, that looks like it's going the opposite direction. Now setting a skimmer is really not something that you really want to just set it. You really want to turn it a bit and then forget about it and come back. Turn it a bit and then come back, because it does take time to settle. So in a perfect world, to set this skimmer up, I would rather, that instead of the white froth being right down near the bottom, and that's called very dry skimming, I'd rather be skimming this tank a little bit wetter. The way I'm going to skim it wetter is I'm going to shut this tap and I'm going to make this froth raise. So opening the tap makes the froth go down. Closing the tap makes the froth go up. So I really want this one to be frothing near the top, and I want the yellow froth to come out of the aquarium. If white froth is coming out of the aquarium and what's getting caught down here is white, then probably we should open that tap up a little bit. If what's coming out is yellow, then that means we're doing good. So once again, if twice a week we can give the inside of this as clean. And the reason we want to clean the inside of that, not with your fingers, but with a brush, is we want to get rid of any bacteria or fatty acids or anything that builds up there, because that'll stop the absorbate building up and going in here. So looking at this skimmer, the fact that it's still skimming white is okay, but I would rather it set higher, and I would want to make sure that's cleaned twice a week, because we're using these products here. Now the other thing is, if you ever do lose an animal, it's really, really important that the animal is taken out of the aquarium straight away, because an animal that's, let's say an eel or a shark or something that goes in here and dies and is not removed, is going to slowly pollute the water and can actually kill some of the other fish. And then also, because this sand is quite fine, we do want to make sure that every time we're doing a water change, we're using a gravel cleaner, and we want to be getting in the back where we can, because we don't want the tank to build up old tank syndrome, which this won't do for some time because it's a new aquarium, but it's absolutely a concern. So you want to make sure that that we're getting the gravel cleaner right in, because we don't want anoxic bacteria building up through the back of the reef, which tends to be synonymous with old tanks, as opposed to a nice new one like this. So basically watching the belly of the fish, knowing what the fish needs to look like, and then getting food that the fish will eat to the fish on a regular enough basis with enough volume of food to make sure the belly of the fish is okay. And if in doubt, grab your phone, make a good video of the setup so I can see everything going on. I want to see the filters, I want to see all the bits and pieces, I want to see any stuff you've got for the tank. If you've got bottles or jars, I want to see it. And then make sure we can see the surface agitation, make sure we can see the fish, and then we can comment and tell you if the fish are too skinny or not. Because you can say all you want about how you feed the right amount, but the only thing that matters is the belly of the fish. If the fish have got a nice, fat, healthy belly that's not too fat, then we're in business. If over time the fish are getting skinny, then whatever you're doing is not working and you will lose fish. So we've also got a nice big UV there, which is awesome. We've just got to make sure we replace that tube on a yearly basis. The temperature is 25.6, which is quite a good temperature. The salinity, I think he said was 0.022, which is a good salinity. If we're not running coral, I prefer to run the salinity slightly lower. I'd rather run like 2.0. If we were going to bring in invertebrates or sharks, I would definitely want to raise that salinity to more like 2.4, but 2.2 is definitely okay. The other thing with these tanks too is never be under the delusion to think that anything stays white. So you've either got to stir the sand regularly, or put in gobies, or put in sand sifters or something to stir the sand, because the sand will not stay white unless it's getting stirred over. And with these rocks, never be under the delusion they're going to stay white. White is a hospital colour. Over time, it will usually go a nice brown, and then a nice green, and then it will actually look very natural. White is not natural. White is hospital colour. So just don't expect your tank to stay that way. If you want it to be white, you can take the rocks out, put them in the sun, and the sun will bleach off any algae, then you can put them back into the tank. But once again, it'll only be white for a number of months, and it will keep on going brown or green.